Hello everyone and welcome to my coloring corner. Today is Final Touches Thursday and we are going to be putting the final touches on the background of this piece. Now we are going to be using Inktense, but we're going to be doing it in a different way. So this is yet another way of using your Inktense pencils because waste not, want not, right? Now I have a bunch of sharpenings in this tugall, but I'm not going to use them because I want to be specific on the bits that I use. But while you're coloring with your pencils and you're sharpening your pencils, you can save those bits of pigment in a little um, paint pan, something empty, and hold on to them because they are useful. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually, and this is the first Thursday that we're actually going to finish the rest of the picture, where it's not something left over for me to do on the weekend or on Friday. This is going to be finished today. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a large paintbrush, and this is quite a good size. This is a 5/8. Um, It's one of the bigger paintbrushes I have. It doesn't have to be an angle brush like this one is an angle brush, but it doesn't have to be that way. And then we're going to saturate it. And we're going to get it very wet. And we're going to get the paper very, very wet. Now if I had a really thirsty brush, it's what I would use for this because it's what would work the best. Alright, now I'm going to let's take the red. I'm going to take the red and I'm just going to quickly sharpen it. Just a couple of turns. Put the red back and then we're going to take the wood off of the pigment. So as you can see, I have just the pigment here. And we're going to just drop it on there. And we're just going to pick it up off of places we don't want it. And we're just going to move it around into the water until it all dissolves. If we need more water, we pick up more water. And we just move it around. If we need to rinse off our brush and dry it so that we can get to pieces that we don't want on the page, we do so. Like I don't want this area here in the red. So I'm just picking that up and moving it away. Now I'm going to take a bit of paper towel and I'm just going to wipe that off. And hopefully I haven't completely messed up the picture. Which I have a little bit, but that's okay. That's alright. I went a little too close to the flower, to the leaf, but that's okay. Try to keep your pigment pieces as far away from your objects as possible, as you can tell. It does make a bit of a mess if you don't. And I think 1 or 2 sharpens was more than enough, if not too much. And then we're going to rinse some of it out and just dab with water and push it around with some water. We've got a lot of pigment down here, so we're going to move that pigment down with some water. I'm just going to keep on adding water until it's starting to look less And then what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing but with a yellow. And we're just going to take a bit of pigment and we're just going to put it in there. I think I want a little tiny bit up here. And we'll put yellow back. And break that up. Once it's broken up, then we'll take the heat brush to it. So we're going to take the heat gun to it and give it a blast so it dries a bit. And once this is dry, if we don't like the color of it, we can add a little bit more different color to it. So if I think there's not enough yellow, I can add some more yellow. I don't think I'm going to add any more red because it's really red. And this is just an experiment. This is just something that I've done before with the extra bits from the... I'm going to leave this end part here wet a little bit because we're going to come into it with a different color. But this top part here I want dry. Okay. Now the bottom part here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to wet it down. Should have got a thing of clean water as well. Try not to get onto the vase because the vase itself doesn't have a lot of Inktense on it. It's got other products that will run. So we're trying not to get it too close to the vase. And I'm just putting the water down. The water has got a bit of red in it from the rinsing of the brush. So it will come up a little bit red. Now we're going to grab, I think this one. Yes. I'm going to grab some violet. And this one requires a bit of sharpening because it didn't have a good point area. So we're going to just take the wood right off. And we're going to empty it out. Now I'm not going to use all of it. I'm just going to use some of it because it's a very, very pigmented color. But I think you get the idea of what we're trying to accomplish. We're just moving that around with as much water as possible. Breaking up some of that pigment. trying not to break up the page too much with too much water, because you know that can happen. Okay, now we're going to blow the rest of this down with the heat gun. And we're just going to get that area wet again. Actually, I'm going to grab a clean glass of water because using the area, the dirty glass of water is just making things red. I don't want that. I want it to be clean. There's just too much red in that water, so I just grab another glass of water. For the clean application. Alright, so now we're done with the purple. So now what do we do with the purple? So we can either put this purple stuff in a tin or something else, or we can just get rid of it. So we're just going to get rid of it because I don't have a tin out, but that's okay. It was a very small amount of 1 or 2 turns of the sharpener. So now we're going to find a little bit lighter. That's peacock blue. That is definitely not the color I'm looking for. So this one here is deep rose. And we're just going to color that on. So this is another way that you can do this. Because I don't want to saturate this area of the paper anymore, and it's just a small area down here at the end, I'm just going to put that pigment on there. I know it looks like a hot mess. Just trying to get all that color out of my brush, and then we're going to put it in the wet brush. This is the clean water, and we're just going to activate it. A little bit more clean water. Now the reason why the ink on the top here is reactivating is because it's not quite dry and there's some unactivated chunks in there. So if you have unactivated chunks in your pigment, those will reactivate if you go over it with some other paint or some other colors or just plain water. So make sure that, oh, I almost put that in the rinse. Almost put that in the clean water instead of the rinse water. So make sure that if you have unactivated pigment and you're going to be going over it with something else, that you either pick that pigment up with a dry brush and remove it, or that you come back through, reactivate it, and utilize it. But if you're not going to go back over it, like if you're going to spray it with a fixative or anything like that, make sure that you've removed all of the unactivated pigment. Again, we're going to go through. Okay. Now I don't like how this looks, so I'm going to add a little bit more yellow to it. I'm just going to turn it around here so that I'm not going into that other area. I don't like how, well, there is yellow in it. Let's reactivate some of that yellow. Just rinsing my brush, wiping it off so that the water, the dirty water, isn't. I'm just reactivating some of that yellow and hoping it's enough. I might grab it again. Of course, there's bits of red that need to be lifted off because we have enough red in there. I put too much red in there as it was. So this is just reactivating the bits that aren't activated and giving me a better idea of how much color is unactivated on there. This yellow doesn't want to activate very well. There we go. That's better. Alright, let's put some more yellow in there. So I'm just going to dab some water on here. Get up to the close to the edges. Try to not make a mess there. Throw it in there. Alright, so look, we're going to grab our yellow. Let's grab our sun yellow. Yeah. And then we're going to just give it a sharpen. Just a small amount. Take off the... And as you can see, it's just a really small amount. Although, even though it's just a small amount, there is a lot of pigment in here. So I'm just placing it where I want it to be. Rinse the brush and grab some clean water. And that gives me a bit more of the effect that I wanted in the first place. A little bit more clean water. And basically what I'm just doing is I'm just breaking down those chunks of pigment. Some of them are a little bit bigger than others, so they're taking a little more to break. So with those, I'm just going to lift them up because they're starting to peel the page with too much water. So if you find that you have more than enough pigment on there, you can lift it up, wipe your brush, dry it off, and then go through and pick up the rest of it. And rinse your brush, and then take your clean water and you just move it around a little bit. So basically what I just did is I took that area that was too red and I broke it down a little bit with the yellow. Now what I'm doing is I'm just picking up any loose pigment that isn't needed to be there. And rinsing off my brush. Alright, now we're going to dry it. And then we're going to take this one here, which is cadmium orange. First we're going to take our clean water and we're going to saturate this side. There's a little bit too much red in there still. Yeah, that's better. Take our clean water and we're going to saturate this side here. Trying to get as close to but not going over the rest of our work. Alright. And we need our sharpener. Once again, if you're able to just sharpen the tip, just sharpen the tip. If you have to take off wood, remember to peel off the wood. So we've got our orange. And once again, it's a lot of pigment, so we'll move it around. I tried to choose a brush that was going to give me maximum coverage, but still give me the ability to get in between things. I didn't choose very well, as you can tell on the red side. Okay, and then we're going to dry that. Then we're going to take a little bit of, let's take just a touch of carmine pink into the orange here. Again, just gonna take it off the very tip and just going to do a couple little spots. And take some clean water and I'm just going to activate. Just to put a little bit of contrasting color in there with the orange. A little bit of red, but not a lot. And we're going to dry that. Now we're going to take our brush and clean it off again. Then we're going to take our clean water. We're going to start in the yellow here. Oh, there's a bit of pink in there. Oh, I got a pink chunk in it. And get that out. Get out. There's a piece of pigment stuck in my brush that didn't break down. I'm just getting it out. But it's okay. There we go. That's better. Now we're going to get the rest of this wet. And I'm going into the yellow with it. Trying not to touch anything on the vase itself because, like I said, the vase is not Inktense all the way, so there is areas on there that will come apart. So now we're going to go in with our teal green and sharpen this. Basically, I'm trying to use some of the colors from the vase for the background. So again, take off the wood. I'm shaking out anything that's in there. So there's going to be some red, there's going to be some yellow, there's going to be some orange, which is fine. I'm going to take our clean water and we're just going to break it all down. Just trying to make sure I don't get a whole bunch of water in places that I don't want it to be. Because cleaning up that mess kind of sucks. So as you can see, there's little bits of red that are under the green, which is fine. Now we're going to go under here a little bit. Trying to get close to the edge with my water. Not succeeding very well. And trying to make it as translucent as possible. For some reason the paper has decided, okay, I'm done. Now I'm blowing this away from the vase because the water getting on the vase would cause some issues with the products that we've used on the vase. Alright, now I'm going to take a little bit of this light blue and I'm just going to very, very carefully go around the edge of the vase. And I'm just going to use the pencil itself. just going to go all the way around the vase itself with it. Giving it that blue edge. Alright, like that. And then we're going to take our brush. We're actually going to take a smaller brush for this. And we're just going to put some clean water on it. And we're going to activate it. Oh, that's the wrong brush. Definitely don't want to use that brush. That is the brush I used for the glitter. Now we're just going to activate this blue. In this part here, we're going to do it as you would a coloring part. Just going to use a little bit more water than you would typically. Just to give it that watercolor look. Trying to keep the water as far away from the vase as possible because of the products in the paint there. Drawing that blue away into the other colors with the water. Like that. Giving the vase a bit of a blue halo kind of aura. Just bringing it out this way. Like that. Dampening some of that color just a touch. So it's not so in your face kinda. Like so. Alright, and then we're gonna dry it up, and then we'll take a look at what we've created here and how much of a mess we've made. But this is a different way, another way that you can utilize your Inktense to create a background. I've only done this 1 or 2 times, so I'm not perfect with it, obviously, as you can tell. However, once you're done and your paper is dry, you can of course flip this over, put it on a bit of parchment paper, run your iron over it, it'll be good to go. So basically what we did here is we took the scraps, we took the pigment sharpenings, and we created the background with it. We painted with the pigment shavings. So we have all different colors here of Inktense pigments that we just sharpened. So if you are, and that was the point of it, was while you're using your Inktense, you don't have to throw away any part of your Inktense pencil except for the wood, of course. But if you're sharpening your Inktense pencil, for each pencil have just a little lid, a little jar, a little something that you can put those pencil shavings in. When you're done, pick out all the wood, and then you can use those pencil shavings as a I just got it all over my desk. As a background, you can use those pencil shavings later on to paint with, anything like that. So with your Inktense pencils, you have very, very little waste, next to none. The amount of waste I have from doing all of that is this much. That's it. And that's just the shavings from 3 or 4 pencils, some of which I didn't even have to waste the wood because I was able to shave just the edge of the pencil. It does look a little splotchy, and that's just because there's some other colors mixed in. And I kind of like that look. So that is our lesson for today, is waste not, want not. Every little part of your pencil, except for the wood maybe, you might be able to use it somewhere, but every part of one of these pencils of the core is usable. So keep your tips, keep your broken tips, keep your shave tips from your sharpener, things like that. You can mix them all together and do this entire thing with just one cluster of different colors and just soak the paper and throw it on there before you color. So if this was a fresh page, what I could have done is I could have just completely saturated it with the water from top to bottom with a heavy douse of water and just taken some of those pigment pieces and just threw them down. Waited for them to evaporate, or not evaporate, break down in the water, blow dry it, and then get to work coloring. I didn't do that to begin with, so doing that now would be disastrous for the part that we colored, because it would do this. So if you do find that you go over top of some of the things that you've colored, you can try to pick that up beforehand. Unfortunately, mine had already dissolved and created a bit of a mess, but that's okay. We'll work with it. But that's all done. So that is our finish to our final touches Thursday. How to use the end parts, the shavings, the broken tips, anything like that of your Inktense pencil or any watercolor pencil. You can do this with any watercolor pencil. Just use the shavings, take off the wood, and off you go. If you have a woodless color pencil, you can use 100% of that entire pencil. You just got to keep your shavings. All right, guys, until next time, of course, tomorrow is our first impressions Friday, and I do have a set of pencils to look at. So we will do that tomorrow. Until then, thank you all very much for watching. I hope this has been fun, educational, or at least entertaining. Always remember to like, comment, and subscribe to any YouTuber that you watch. This is greatly appreciated, and it helps us out a whole lot in understanding what you like, what you don't like, and what you want to see more of on future videos. Until next time, remember to be kind to each other and relax, color, and stay safe. Until then, bye bye for now.